I want to start with the period in which it was lost. The period from the writing in Pusey to the period in which it was then picked up by the Royal Court. Had you given up on it, and if so, why?
Yeah, I had. I'd get, in all seriousness, because it was shit. I'm not being glib, it was rubbish. And it's a real indication of why most plays are shit, because I had an idea for a character and a setting and nothing else. And that's pretty much as most, I think, and I thought I was off to the races, but that's not even half of a play. I think you're only ever going to write a terrible play if all you've got is a character and a setting and like a few ideas of what the plot might do. That's not a play. And I proved that with all my might when I sat down to write it in 2003, and we had a read-through of it at the Royal Court, and it was horrible. I mean, my friend Judy Daish, halfway through, she looked at me and she went... And she knows, she was Harold Pinter's agent, so she knew the difference. And then I gave it another go in 2004, and I'd managed to make it much, much worse. And so I did something I'd never done before, which I put it in a drawer, having shown it the light of day. I often, most of the ideas that I've got for things, I've marinated on for at least 5 years, and sometimes a lot longer. And for that, I just dived in, messed it up, and then put it in a drawer.
And then what brought it out?
Mark Rylance and Ian Rickson.
So how did that happen?
So I got a call out of the blue from Ian, said, do you want to come and meet Mark? He somehow got hold of a copy of your play, Jerusalem, and I winced. And he said, and he wants to talk about it. And so we met up in that little room at the top of the Royal Court that the artistic director has, and Mark came in, and he'd cycled there, and he didn't take his cycle helmet off for the entire hour we were talking. He just sat there being quite earnest about this thing that he'd read, but that he could see something in, and I could. What he'd sort of done was go back to the beginning. He'd sort of said, but there's a character here that I'm interested in, and I was saying that's not enough. I've proved that's not enough. But he was like, no, but I really think that if you maybe look at it now and pursue it now, there might be something there. What then happened was, as he left, I'd met Mark Rylance, and it's quite a thing. It's quite an amazing thing, particularly in 2007. It was like meeting someone in a total state of grace, being completely honest. And so I had to believe him. Everything that he was saying was completely true. So I had to believe that was true, that there was something here, so I pursued it.
State of grace?
Yeah, it was like he had, even with the funny hat on, it's like he looked like he just had a glow around him, and everything that he was saying felt like that there was poetry there.
And was it rooted in something very real, Jez? Was Johnny Byron a guy who lived on the outskirts of Pusey, or just a figment of your imagination?
So, I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that I've met several people that I could say are bits of it in the real world that sort of make it up, almost like ingredients in a meal you're going to cook, but none of them is the meal.
And there wasn't something as simple as there's a guy living in a caravan on the outskirts of town? Well,
no, there wasn't. I mean, even like on Saturday night. So Mark, when he was going to play the role, I tipped him the nod and said, "There's this guy in Pusey who it's partly based on," and he got straight on the train to go and talk to him. Now, for an actor, that's really useful because it means he can sit in front of him and he can listen to how he speaks and he can pick up all kinds of stuff that. I met the guy twice, and I didn't want to say that I'd met him twice. I didn't want to because it felt like inauthentic. Because I just hadn't done my homework, but it's partly based on him, and also, You know, he was quite a strong flavour. You didn't have to meet him many times. He was also horrible, horrible human being. You know, I met... This keeps biting me in the arse. Like, I met on Saturday night, I went up to talk to Mark after we did the first preview, and he's, of course, surrounded by the family of this guy. You know, they're all there, grandchildren, everything. They've all come to see the story of their grandpa. And look, I love him, and it's really lovely to meet them and everything, but it is not that man's... it's not his story. His story was his life. He lived it, and he died. This is a different thing.